Let's bring in former Trump attorney Jim Trusty. Jim, great to have you on the program. They're in break. We will see this trial resume probably at the top of the hour, 2:15 p.m. Eastern time. I want to play out the sound from the former president this morning as he was entering the courtroom, calling this Biden's trial. Listen.
At least we're getting the word out, but it's very unfair. I'd like to be in these various states where I should be campaigning like anybody else. This is a Biden trial. This all comes out of the White House and the Department of Justice. This is all them. In fact, a lead person from the DOJ is running the trial. So Biden's office is running this trial. This trial is a scam and it's a sham and it shouldn't happen.
So that was the former president's take, Jim. What's your take on how this is going?
Well, a couple things. On that point that the president made, there is a core fact that's a real problem here, which is that DOJ's Colangelo, who was the number 3 guy at DOJ, it had been back and forth between Letitia James's office, Alvin Bragg's office, and the Department of Justice. He decided to go back to Alvin Bragg's office as the right hand of Alvin Bragg, and 3 weeks later, this indictment comes out. So that's not necessarily a smoking gun, but that's certainly a red flag where there's an issue there about it all being orchestrated out of Main Justice. As to the trial, I have to say, you know, it is for a case that's got all sorts of problems, including the fact that the defense doesn't really know the theory of felonization because the government never had to give it at this point, and the fact that all sorts of extraneous information is coming out. Well, all those negative factors coming together, it's still going well for the defense. It has gravitated into something that I said would be the defense strategy, which is make it all about Cohen's credibility. And Cohen's credibility is a gift that keeps giving.
Right. In terms of Cohen's credibility, Todd Blanche has been trying to show him as hostile to the president, willing to lie about anything, willing to do anything that it took in furtherance of his own career. How do you think he's done on that front?
Yeah, I mean, look, it would be great if I could say from the inside, watching it minute by minute. That's really where you really get a feel for how it's landing. But I would say this. It seems to be a very structured cross. He's starting off and spending a lot of time on bias, which, again, is just a huge part of the story. He's moving into the area of undeniable lies, you know, convictions for perjury, lying to Congress, lying to special counsel. I think he may move towards the end towards the illusions of grandeur, you know, Cohen wanting to be the attorney general, God help us. But, you know, I think that's all on the plate. And one thing that the viewer should know is, you know, cross-examination, we're used to like movies where you see Tom Cruise go after Jack Nicholson and you can't handle the truth, and Perry Mason, to put it back in my generation, where there's devastating cross, where the witness folds and says, you're right, I murdered so-and-so. Mm-hmm. In real life, that's a mistake. It doesn't happen that way. What you have to do is set it up for closing argument. And I think what I'm seeing so far is Todd is being disciplined enough to ask tight questions where Cohen can't make speeches. And that's really the measure of success. Get the concessions, force him to look like the weasel he is, but don't give him an opportunity to make a speech at your expense.
Yeah, sometimes when we're all watching this from the outside, we want that instant gratification. We want to know where they're going right now, like when we watch the TV version of this. Bob Costello, that interview this morning, we just played out a little bit of it, Jim. This is more from him in that interview on Michael Cohen monetizing himself. Listen.
This guy is saying, I will lie, cheat, steal, do whatever I have to do. I'm not going to jail. Well, he did go to jail. And who do you think he blames for that? And why do you think he names his most recent book, Revenge? I mean, quite frankly, he's using this to monetize himself, because this is the only way this guy can make money right now, selling books and T-shirts and trinkets and being the ultimate anti-Trumper.
Wanted to get your reaction to that, Jim.
Yeah, I actually had an opportunity to meet and talk to Costello yesterday. We were both testifying on the Hill. And I got to tell you, I went from the camp of do not call anybody in the defense case. Don't give the government anything that helps them, even unintentionally. Make it about Cohen. I'll now amend my statement, which is put Costello on, because he is a great rebuttal. I mean, you're still not really putting on a true defense. You're putting on a rebuttal to the testimony. But think about it. This is a guy who knows Cohen well, former attorney. He's going to say the guy wouldn't know the truth if it hit him between the eyes. And he's also specifically rebutting some of the accounts and stories that Cohen gave this jury. So it's classic rebuttal and character testimony about what a dishonest guy he is.
In terms of the rebuttal, if they were to put him on the stand, there's a good possibility that Costello might say this. Call for number 7.
You did this on your own? On my own. Did Donald Trump have anything to do with it? No. Did you get the money from Donald Trump? No. From any of his organizations? No. From anybody connected to Donald Trump? No. Where did you get the money? I took out a HELOC loan against my property. I said, why would you do that? He said, I didn't want anybody to know where I got this money. I didn't want Melania to know. I didn't want my own wife to know.
Now, what's interesting is what Costello was saying there, Jim, is basically the same thing that Cohen told everybody who was willing to listen back in 2018. But he's Cohen's former attorney, and he's testifying in Congress. And if he were to bring that story into that New York City courtroom, it seems to me as though there would be a very big case of he said for the jury to weigh.
Yeah, but remember, the government has the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and they're hedging it. They're hinging their bet on this guy. Look, I have to say, this guy's been a lawyer 51 years, Costello. He's an irascible, impossible to deflate New York lawyer. He would be devastating on the witness stand. There's no cross-examination that's going to shake that guy for a minute, and it just rings true. His stories about Cohen are going to ring true. So, if I'm on that team, I'm saying, look, everybody else sit back. We got one witness coming, and then we go right into closing argument. I think there's a real good chance they will. Yeah. And there'll be a real fight from the government saying, oh, this is not directly on point, but it's directly contradictory as well as opinion and testimony about honesty.
Jim Trusty, great to have you on today, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.